Hi, this is Sam Lagana with the Los Angeles Rams. Whose house? You're listening to the Los Angeles Rams UK podcast. Undenied worldwide. The Los Angeles Rams. It doesn't get any better than this. Let's go Rams!
Good evening, welcome to another edition of the LA Rams UK podcast, episode 103. When's it all going to come together? I'm John, and joining me as always is Andy. Andy, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you?
I'm not bad. How did you spend your bye week?
Relaxing and getting over illness, to be honest, mate.
Illness aside, was it quite positive this week?
Yeah, it was all right, mate. It's just watched a few other team games and it was on around the league just for something to do for the week, the weekend. And just enjoyed a bit of a break from the stresses and the frustrations that have been the Rams so far.
Well, that's that. I think we'll maybe not necessarily went to sleep happy on Sunday, but at least we didn't go to sleep, angry, frustrated, as we've done for many weeks this season. So we're back this week, folks. Obviously the Rams, as I was saying, we're on the bye week. Nice to get a break considering how the way the seasons went. And on that, the kind of main talking point is really how we think the season is. It's a stupid question to ask because we all know how the season's going so far. But how the season is actually going for us thus far. Andy, how do you feel the 2023 season is going so far for the LA Rams? And try, if you can, to be positive if it's possible. Because I know I'll struggle.
We've won one more game than I thought we'd do at this point of the season, and my predictions. That's about the only positive I can think of.
That's something. Hold on to that. That's not bad. So you obviously had us going into by week 2 and 7.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the schedule, at the start of the year, when seeing some of the predictions I've seen people say online for us, it's easy to see why you're saying we could have been 2 and 7 going in could have been realistic, and unfortunately you weren't too far off that. But I'm pretty sure you may have had would you have had the wins in the same kind of win column? As for myself, I think I actually had us starting 0-3 this season before we got the Colts. I think it was a 1-4. So I'm just going through the schedule because I don't remember 1, 5, 2. Actually, I think I had this 3-6 as well going into the game because we've not exactly had an easy start to the season when you look at it, have we, Andy?
No, we haven't. The 2 wins that I had predicted for the start of the year, I did actually wear right, which was my 2 were Indianapolis and the Cardinals. So I've got those 2 right. But it's not been an easy schedule, but I don't know. It almost feels like a lost first half of the season because we started with reasonable promise and we felt like, maybe this team could be better than we all thought we were going to be starting the year. We were like, games that we had, that's a loss. All of a sudden you felt like, we might be able to sneak a win on that one. We could easily, we can win this one. The Steelers game, the Packers game. We felt like actually, as the season was progressing, we were the better team, but we just didn't seem to put that onto the field. It just seemed to be, I don't know, it felt like we were just grinding through the motions. And then obviously Stafford's injuries again happened, and which is something we've all been worried about. And it showed that without Stafford, just how dire the offense is, and that completely shuts the whole team down. Basically, it doesn't matter what the defense does; the offense can't get anything moving. They can't do anything. And we have had the weaknesses that we all thought especially on defense, has started to shine through, which is linebackers and the secondary.
Yeah, all the worries that we had with the defense are now kind of coming to fruition. And as you touched upon, one of the things we did say in the first couple of weeks of the season, we had obviously the win against the Seahawks. We narrowly lost to them. unfortunately lost to the Bengals, who aren't really looking that great, despite being 5-4. Aren't looking great. They made obviously the Nakua walk off. In those 4 weeks, we were saying that, we're not actually as bad as we've been made out to be. There's a chance here. There's plenty of potential in this team, and then the Eagles, it's 20, 23-14 isn't like, it's not like the steamrolled over us, but they didn't annihilate us, and then with the Cardinals, beat them 26-9, but the Cardinals are the Cardinals. They're not doing great. Then with also the frustrating loss against the Steelers, which kind of like just, a lot of us were kind of livid about. We went to Dallas and got exactly what we expected out of them, and then I want to say the less said about the Packers game, the better.
Yeah.
From what I've not even watched the highlights. I was out with the family, and it was one of the ones I'll go home and watch it. Seen the score pop up on my phone, and I was like, yeah, I'm not even going to bother, because when I started reading the Discord server and I seen some of the comments that the guys were like saying about the game, I was just like, this sounds like it's up there as one of the worst performances. And dead well, absolutely, in the last 5 years. But maybe even going further than that, it wasn't great. And to be honest, I was absolutely relieved that we were going into a bye week, because after like what little I've actually seen in the Packers game, I'm glad that we had a chance to kind of go away and reset and clear out the quarterback room, which we'll get to in a minute about what we've done there. In terms of the rest of the season, Andy, so just talking through the schedule, we've got the Seahawks home, Cardinals away, Browns at home, Ravens away, Commanders at home, Saints at home, Giants away, them away. Knowing what you know now about the team, because you probably may have predicted it totally differently, how do you see the rest of the season going?
I could honestly, if everything goes to plan and we play like we did for the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, I could see us winning 4 or 5 of those games now. Cardinals, Murray's back, but we will. I think we can handle them. The Browns are obviously now down with Watson going out for the year. That they're relying on their rookie quarterback. So anything could happen in that one.
Yeah.
Ravens, I do expect us to get battered. I think the Ravens are just too good. Much like the Cowboys are just too good for us this year. They're just going to dominate us.
Yeah.
Commanders is one of them that's a little bit up in the air. It depends on what version of Sam Howell, their quarterback, you get. If we get the good version of him, then he's going to dice up our secondary. If we get the bad version, we could sneak that win. Mm-hmm. Saints is always a difficult game, but if you get beat by Derek Carr, something's bloody wrong with the team, And then Giants look like the shell of themselves, and then obviously, unfortunately, the Whiners, I just don't see us winning either. So, there's potential where we could walk away, I feel, with quite a few wins in the box. But at the same time, if we play like we did versus the Steelers and the Packers, I could see us losing a lot of them. It's that Jekyll and Hyde at the moment until the team comes back out this week and we can actually see, is Stafford actually healthy? How good is he doing? Have we managed to get some stuff together? Maybe changes the secondary to sort of, put our best players out there rather than the stubbornness of just keep going with what we've got and see what happens. Hopefully we've made some changes and we can actually move forward. But I think I have a feeling we're going to lose this Seahawks game. But if we do, I just want it to be, if we can show a bit of fight and stay close to them, then, I think moving forward, we could have a decent end to the season.
Yeah, just looking at, if I just take, the standings as they are in terms of our opponents. So we know that the 49ers and the Seahawks are both 6-3. Of our NFC opponents, they're the only ones that are above 500. Saints are 500 at 5-5. Commanders are 4-6. Giants are 2-8. And then in the AFC, we've got the Ravens, 7-3, like I said. Browns are 6-3. Like, I don't think that game at the start of the season, I would have put that game down as one that we could win that game. But I would say it's probably not the case now.
I will say, much like the Steelers, I feel like the Browns game is going to be that they have got a superb defense, much like the Steelers, and I think their defense can throttle us. And if DTR can just do enough, then that game could end up one of them frustrating games like the Steelers, where it just feels like we're just grinding away and we just can't seem to get over the hump. But at the same time, DTR could be throwing picks left, right, and centre, and we could win it. So say that just feels like a very weird game.
Yeah, and what you're referring about, like DTR, obviously is their quarterback now, and they did have Deshaun Watson playing for the weekend. And theirs was one of the games that I did watch. I had Red Zone on the weekends, but their game was one of the ones I noted. And they came back pretty well.
Yeah.
At the weekend, it was a good game to watch. And so it's like you said, I think we're kind of relying on a rookie quarterback not performing to kind of potentially get something out of the
Yeah, he did have a couple of starts earlier in this year, and he did look, he looked good at pre-season, but then when he had a couple of games and he didn't look very good, and he ended up getting benched himself. But he's had a few more weeks now to sort of sit behind, learn a bit more, get used to it, and he said in an interview today that he's learned from his mistakes. He's not the same that he was at the start of the year. So we'll just have to see, as to what happens with him.
Yeah.
But like I say, potentially we could walk away with the wins in a good few of these games now if everything goes to plan.
Look, out of the games, like for me, I think 3 of them are definitely winnable, and that's the Cardinals, the Giants, and the Commanders. But the Commanders game could potentially be a slippery one for me. And I say that because they've pushed the Eagles very close twice.
Yeah, they always seem to play well against the Eagles. So I don't know what it is. My mate's an Eagles fan, and he says that he always hates Commanders week because he says they can be, they can have not won a game all year, but they always seem to play well against the Eagles. It's just, but like I said, it depends on what version of feel of Sam Howell they're going to get. Are they going to get, if he's the, slicing them up quarterback that he has been at times, then he's going to make our secondary look ridiculous. If we get the turnover happy version that we've seen, where he's making mistakes and everything, it's one of them games we could win. And don't forget, they've just traded away 2 of their best players, in Montez Sweat and Chase Young. So their defense is looking a little bit soft and squishy themselves at the moment.
It is indeed. The Giants game. If we don't win that Giants game, then I think some guys should be collecting their P45s after that game. Like, what? Haven't seen the Giants a few times this year. They are, like you said, they're just.
Well, I know someone I watch on YouTube does like a weekly power rankings. He's now he's got 32 as Georgia and college team New York Giants, because he said they're that bad now. Georgia have overtook them as a better NFL team than the Giants are.
Oh, God. And considering that the Panthers are actually the lowest rated team in the AFC, that's saying something, folks. But in terms of the strength of the schedule, like, I think at the start of the year when we looked at the schedule, going in post-bye, we thought the consensus was got a potentially rough start to the season, but get to the bye week, and then things should hopefully start opening up for us. Because looking at it, we're thinking, right, we've got the Seahawks, Cardinals, Browns. So I'm saying that could be 3 wins. That's 3 wins could be there. Yeah, we could be off the Ravens because it's Lamar. Commanders, we should win that. Saints, they like to up their game against us, but we should win that. Giants, we should win that. And then it's that lot to finish. And like at the start of the season, like a lot of people kind of spoke about, we could be a playoff team if we pick up these wins. But it's like you said, Andy, like where this season's going, and just depend on whether Stafford can play. these games, it's few and far between how many games you can see are actually winnable. And like you touched upon, there's always one game a season, and it always is kind of like late in the year where we should win this game and we don't. We had that a few years ago when it was like the Jets who handed them their first win of the season. When they were like absolute god awful, like you said, like you referenced about Georgia there. Georgia probably would have beaten them. Rank
Yeah.
college teams would have beaten them. So it's what game do you think has got the potential to be that game?
The frustrating game. Probably the two I'd probably pick is New York and the Cardinals, to be honest.
Both of them are away from home as well.
Yeah, that they just have that feeling of they're the two teams I feel we should definitely 100% beat, but have the potential to be that banana skin game for us that you're just scratching your head going, that what the heck have I just watched sort of scenario.
I'm going to say myself it's the New York game, and the reason I'm going to say it's because I've just seen it's on New Year's Eve. So if there's a cold snap at that time of year, that could be a very cool place for them to play as well.
Yeah, true.
So that's it. But look, who knows, folks? Let's be honest. We're not experts here. No one's an expert when it comes to the Rams in terms of predicting what's actually going to happen with us. So
I suppose the other big question as well, though, is how many games do we, realistically, do we want to win? Are we better off not winning these games now and getting a tough draft pick, or are we better maybe pushing for a 9-8 finish and maybe scraping the playoffs if we're lucky, and then we're not picking till high teens, early 20s. Is it really worth it for a season, for a write-off season, basically?
Yeah,
it's that catch-22, isn't it?
It is. The NFL website's taken away. You could actually view it by conference, the standings. That they've got it purely down to divisions now, and it's annoying.
Yeah,
because I think we're definitely top 10 in the draft, but at the moment, it's whether we're going to be kind of like top 5, top 6 come the end of the season. And like the question you're posing is, do we want to be top 5, top 6?
Yeah.
And
at
that's
the
not
moment, we've got the number 7 pick.
7, is it? Right.
Yeah,
So
if the season ended today, we'd be picking 7th.
I mean, it's bad to say it, but it's a not bad number to pick from.
No,
not bad number to pick from. Can you just do me a favour? Just talk us through who's above us.
Right. I'll just go through the top 10. So you've got Chicago at 1 because obviously they've got Carolina's pick.
Yeah.
New York Giants is 2. New England is 3. Arizona 4. Chicago again at 5. Green Bay at 6. Us at 7. Tennessee at 8. Atlanta at 9. And Washington at 10. That's the top 10.
Just shows you how bad the NFC is this year.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
at the moment, like I say, we've got a top 7 pick.
and we keep talking about like that first round pick, being a quarterback. So it's like realistically, how many teams above us are we going to want to take a quarterback? First off the bat, the Patriots.
Definitely.
They're definitely going to be taking one. The Bears, are they going to, call time on Justin Fields?
It feels like it. It feels like it's going to happen. It just feels to me like it's going to happen. I just think it's their time. They're going to have to. I think if you're picking one, you're going to, you've got somebody like either Drake May or Caleb Williams there. You'd be very hard pressed to justify not doing it.
Yep. The Cardinals are sticking with Murray.
Apparently not.
But are they changing their mind again? They keep flipping this.
Apparently, the latest thing is they're going to assess him throughout the rest of the season and then make a decision come the end of the year what they're going to do.
I'm going to trade him.
But the amount of dead cap they're going to eat, And also the fact that his contract teams are going to be like, yeah, you're not getting a first rounder for a guy that we've got to pay X stupid amounts to. So, I just don't. It's going to be an interesting one what the Cardinals do. As you say, New York, I think, ready for a new
they've
quarterback.
paid Jones though. This is the thing. Like,
no, they've only picked up his 5th-year option, haven't they?
Have they? All right. Okay.
I don't think they've extended his contract. They've just maybe picked up his 5th year. But then again, it could be a new quarterback and a new coach in New England, because apparently have you seen the rumors going around that Belichick may be out at the end of the year?
I mean, putting my feelings towards Bill Belichick aside, as a neutral, I think it's time for New England to move on. He's been there long enough.
Yeah, but have you seen who he's been linked with if he moves?
No, but enlighten me.
Our tenants.
Oh, okay.
So it would be an interesting one. Green Bay. Who knows whether they're in the quarterback position? I don't know.
No, just going back to New York there, Andy. I was just checking. They've got Jones. They've got potential Jones in
Daniel Jones. Sorry, I thought you meant Mac Jones for the Patriots.
No, sorry, no. Daniel Jones.
Yeah, they have an out on him.
So they've basically paid him. They're not going to move on from him. No one's going to touch him either. So I don't think New York are going to be in the quarterback market.
I believe New York have got an out on him, though, on that contract.
2025, it says.
Yeah. So, but you can, like people have said, you can afford to keep him when you've got a rookie quarterback, because you can pay you back up a little bit more than normal. I just don't see New York sticking with Daniel Jones, because what's the point?
There's no point. Like, it's actually, if they were to get rid of him now, the dead cap would be 81.5 million on him. Like, this is the thing with Daniel Jones. He's, I try not to be disrespectful to players because they're professionals, and I'm not a professional myself, not an athlete by any means, but he's not a great quarterback, but he's getting paid an awful lot. Maybe not this year, but as based on his contract, the way it breaks down, he's going to be getting paid an awful lot by New York for someone who's not really that great. And I don't really understand when they gave him the new contract, which was in March this year, signed a 4-year, $160 million extension. It's like, surely New York. I think that has surprised a lot of people at the time, because I think there was an expectation, they're going to move on from him, and it may have just came down to a time like, we can't get any better than this guy. We're going to have to pay him.
I think what it was because he played reasonably well last year for them and got them into the playoffs. I think their GM and their new head coach, Brian Goodable, thought that he was making progress and he was moving on, and they could work with him, and I think this year has just proved, actually, you can't, because he's still trailer trash. Last year was just a fluke.
Yeah. And just what kind of keep him with this theme about someone performing quite well, we'll pay him, and then doesn't exactly progress well. Let's kind of stick with this, because we'll talk about what's happening else this week, because we'll move on to Jared Goff, who's currently sitting as in the second best team in the NFC right now, with the Lions, who are just still performing week in, week out. Did you catch their game, Andy?
I did, mate. Yeah, it was quite a fun game to watch, actually, as a neutral.
Neutral
slash slightly side more towards Detroit.
As neutral as you can be, yeah. I watched bits of their game. As I mentioned to you before I came on the air, we'd kind of had a sick bug in the family over the weekend, so I was pretty knackered come, like 11 o'clock. I fell asleep watching like a field goal about a kick, and I woke up and there was curling on the telly. So I'm a bit confused with that. But like the Lions, they're surprising people, but I don't actually, for me personally, see it as a surprise. I think last year we saw signs of this team have a lot of potential here and could be a dark horse, and I think it's now coming to fruition for them. and they're definitely going to make the playoffs. Put it that way. It's just going to be a case of how far they're actually going to go in the playoffs. But one thing I did see is I think it was 5 of the games on Sunday were all finished with a walk-off field goal. What any other games that you watched at the weekend, Andy, that you wish to comment on? Like you thought were like really good to watch? Because I thought it was quite an entertaining week to watch.
Yeah, there was a few entertaining games. You know, I will say the Indianapolis New England game was not a fun game to watch. That was not a good advertisement for Germany.
No.
You can have this trailer trash game. It was like put you to sleep. In terms of exciting games, to be honest, Denver beating Buffalo. I don't think anybody saw that one coming. That was quite an interesting game to watch.
Yeah.
To be honest, Houston beating Cincinnati.
The Houston-Cincinnati game was pretty good to watch.
Yeah, I think again, is it time that maybe Bryce Young wasn't the best quarterback pick out of the two? I think it's beginning to look clear, and I think the way Houston are going, they could potentially sneak into the playoffs this year, which is way ahead of their schedule as well.
Well, because just as you're alluding to there with like CJ Stroud, I've seen people this week talking, let's say like why we mention this guy for rookie of the year, because he's doing well enough that, well, statistically, where he is in terms of quarterbacks. If he wasn't a rookie, they'd be talking about him as an MVP candidate now.
Yeah.
Not necessarily he will be, but like that's what I'm saying, statistically, he's in that bracket. It's not a rookie of the year bracket, it's a MVP bracket that people are starting to talk about him.
When you look at the team around him and what he's working with, kind of like, actually, this guy maybe should be in the MVP conversation because, just how well he is doing with what is, I'm not being funny, still a bit of a trailer trash team, but heading in the right direction. But, fair play to D'Amico Ryans. He seems to have got that team playing way above its station.
Yeah.
And how well it's doing. So, it's an interesting team to watch moving forward. And then, obviously, I think you alluded to the Cleveland-Baltimore game. That was quite a entertaining game, to be brutally honest.
Because it was a really tight game for the last 8 minutes of the game. A lot of these games, it was like teams coming back within the last 2 minutes, whereas it was like 8 minutes in the fourth quarter still to go when it was like within a field goal, and then like the Browns missed an extra point, so we're going to need to go up, get the ball back, and go back up the field, to try and win the game, which they ultimately did. So yeah, it was interesting. I took great pleasure that Christian McCaffrey didn't break the record for most consecutive games with touchdowns, and despite their best efforts. But they highlighted a lot this week about Bosa and Chase Young on defense. I think the two of them shared a couple of sacks. I hate to say it's kind of it's quite scary to watch and to see that with the way our offensive line is, the way Stafford is, we've still got them coming at us, and they're going to be still probably going all guns blazing in that game in terms of trying to get the best seeding possible for the playoffs. That's a worry.
Luckily, if it's week 18 and we're out the playoffs, it would be a case of if I was to just say, well, what? If you got injured, it doesn't matter. You've got the off season to recover. If we are chasing or we've secured playoffs, it's Wentz, you sit there, you're playing this game. So if you get anyone's getting smashed, it's you, sunshine.
Yep.
Or just we'll re-sign Brett Rippon and say, right, here's your punishment for being so trash. You can go and get smacked up by them two for freaking 60 minutes to teach you a lesson. Yeah. But I think the other one, obviously, Minnesota win with Josh Dobbs as their quarterback.
Did you see the clips of Dobbs on the sidelines? He was going over the cadences with his offensive line and other members of the offense on the sidelines as the game is going on behind him.
Yeah,
I don't think he. It was a similar situation to when we got Baker Mayfield last year. That he barely got to practice with anybody, so he was literally working with nothing. So they were literally, practicing on the sidelines. Fair play to the guy.
Yeah,
It came in.
if you look at him now, he went to Arizona with their trailer trash. He managed to win a few games and looked half decent. He's gone to, the Vikings. Sorry, it's one
Yeah.
game, but has looked, it's brought them, So it's definitely a capable backup. Maybe maybe if he got a chance, he could be another sort of Geno Smith renaissance to his career.
Yeah, well, that's
You
the
never
way
know.
people kind of seem to be looking at that. And fair play to the guy. Let's see what happens anyway with that. So that was last week. But let's talk about what we've been up to this week. So you mentioned your lady there about Brett Rippon being re-signed, for a laugh there. So obviously, following the Packers game, we got rid of Carson Wentz and Brett Rippon, and thank God that we did, because that last game was just awful. We thought Wolford and Perkins weren't great backups until we seen Dressel winning Brett Rippon. So we've been busy, let's just say, and we have signed one Carson Wentz, who was a free agent, and we talked about this earlier in the year, Andy, and your feelings on it were very, very clear at the time. Like, no, I don't want this guy. He's too injury prone. Like, it's a waste of money, waste of our time. But here he is, a Ram, Carson Wentz, the man that we were between picking, and we went with Jared Goff. I don't even want to say finally a Ram, but he is a Ram now. Thoughts on that, Andy?
How polite do I have to be? Yeah, you know what? He's coming as a backup. We'll see what he does. I've seen a lot of people now on social media, etc., saying, "Oh, he could potentially take us to a winning season. He could take us deep in the playoffs." No, sorry, the guy's trailer trash. I'm sorry, he is absolute trash. He's proved that now over the last number of years. And before he signed with us, it tells you how bad I think he is. People need to realise he had a trial with the New York Jets, and the Jets decided they'd rather stick with Zach Wilson than sign Carson Wentz. So they thought Wilson was a better option. So that tells you everything you need to know about how he is. I'll get behind the guy if he plays, because obviously, he's a Ram now, and we have to build. I think all this talk and this hype over him is just, way overstepping, to what his capabilities are. He's not been good for a good number of years. He can't, stick in teams. He can't even, up until we signed him, he couldn't even get a backup gig anywhere. That tells you. This feels almost like Brett Rippon desperation again of, well, Rippon's not sticking, so we'll try and see if something else comes in. People are saying, oh, it'll be like Mayfield last year. No, Mayfield at least had a bit of something to him. Wentz hasn't had anything to him for years.
Mayfield was seeing some game time as well, whereas Wentz is totally coming out of the cold. So I personally wouldn't make that kind of comparison, because at least Mayfield was seeing snaps last year when we brought him in.
Yeah, they're two completely. Wentz is a shell of a quarterback. He had one excellent year and one okay year, and after that, just the rest of his career has been falling apart.
Yeah, and like people going on, like says, "Oh well, he was in Eagles and he won a Super Bowl." Wentz didn't play in the Super Bowl, if you remember correctly, folks. Wentz got taken out of the game by, I believe it was, Mark Barron, if I'm correct, when the Eagles came to town. Nick Foles took over, and the rest is history. So you can't even make that argument. Always won a Super Bowl. He didn't win a Super Bowl. He was injured. He was out for the year. It was Nick Foles that won the Super Bowl.
He was playing like an MVP candidate that year. I will say that much, up until his injury. But since then he's not. The year after he was, okay, at a stretch, and after that it just. The Eagles signed Jalen Hurts, and he just completely fell apart, and has never been even close to, anything since. So I think a lot of this hype and thing of him, he could come in the squad. He'd certainly probably look maybe a little bit better than Rippon, but I'm saying maybe because I still don't feel he's that good as people think he is.
Yeah, it's. I think personally, I'm not happy with signing him. I'm not angry with signing him. I'm just totally indifferent to it. Willing to give the guy a chance, but I don't think he's here for the long term. Put it that way. I know I did say that in the Discord server. If Stafford can't play and he does well, he could be retained as a backup, but he's not going to want to be a backup. Put it that way. We're lucky in terms of his contract. We've brought him in. He's got $150,000 signing bonus, and his base salary is supposed to be $1.165 million. But we are prorating that, so he's only getting something like I think in total something like $740,000. He's getting paid off the Rams, but we'll only have to pay him $150,000 if we can cut him at any time. So whilst it may not be a great candidate to have brought in, kind of says, well, he can come in, he can warm the bench, and if we need to get rid of him, then we just need to, it's only $150,000. It's guaranteed, depending on how far we get. So I think it's one of those ones that they're like, okay, do you know what? We'll just take that kind of like minimal hit because in the off season, as we were saying earlier on, we're potentially looking at the replacement for Stafford. But just as you were saying there about like in terms of his career, and just looking at his stats, he's 46, 45, and 1 as a quarterback. And he's not seen a snap, since he played for Washington last year, where
he got benched.
He got benched. let's just put it that way. Yep,
he got benched and cut. Benched and then cut.
He only played in 8 games of the season. And he was 2-5. As a starter, he was 2-5. And his season before the Colts, he was 9-8. He looked okay for the Colts. Thought, right, well, maybe
he did. But how much of that was Jonathan Taylor? That was Jonathan Taylor's breakout year. The Colts were a run first team.
Yeah, I mean, his stats were okay. His stats weren't bad for the Colts. I think at the time I thought, well, maybe this is a Jared Goff scenario where he's found that he's kind of level in a team that fits, but that wasn't the case. And then he obviously says he's moved on to Washington. To get benched by the Commanders, just it's I think that kind of says like you said, it says everything you need to know about the guy in terms of how good he actually is. If you're getting benched by as a member of that team, no disrespect if any Commanders fans happen to listen to this podcast, I doubt it. Because you're probably just wallowing in self-pity half the time. But maybe this is, like you said, this is just, well, it's just going to be another Brett, Rippon, but I think it's bad when you've got John Wolford, who we approached first about coming back, and he said, no, I'll just stay where I am. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he must have been happy down in Tampa. He must be enjoying the beaches.
Well, I mean, it is warmer down there, I guess, even at this time of year, so it's still not bad in LA. It's still not bad.
Yeah. I think it's cheaper in Florida than LA, though, isn't it? When you're a practice squad, yeah.
But I think it's one of those ones that you're probably looking into that situation a bit more. He was maybe not happy with maybe how things ended in LA, and it's kind of like, I don't want to come back now. Like, I'm not here at like waiting by the phone, desperate to come back to you guys. Like, I've kind of had my shot. You made it clear you didn't want to stick with me. It's not like you were doing a big contract, but it is what it is, isn't it, Andy? But sticking with the kind of quarterback theme, Stetson Bennett was spotted for the first time last weekend at the Georgia Ole Miss game. He was there to receive an award. It's the first time he's been seen out in public since basically pre-season. But we're not going to see him at all really this year, according to what Sean McVay said. The remaining very tight-lipped. The back office about what's where Stetson Bennett is at in terms of whatever he's dealing with, his demons or whatever it is. Do you think Bennett will be back? I'm not saying this year in terms. I mean this season. I mean, do you think Stetson Bennett will be back, or do you think it's one of those ones in off season we'll just quietly go, yeah, we've given you a chance, you're off?
I don't know, mate. We'll have to see how the team decides moving forward what they're going to do with him. They might bring him in for the off season, get him in if he's available, put him in the training camp, and just say, right, we'll see what you can do. But you're basically fighting it. If you can prove to us you're capable, we'll keep you. If you're not capable, we'll bye. There's the door. See you later.
Yeah.
And I suppose it all depends as well. Can he keep him wherever his demons are or whatever there is going on? If it is alcohol related, I suppose the Rams are looking, well, this off season, can you keep yourself away from it and keep yourself clean?
Yeah.
That's assuming the most like, which is what everyone's rumours are, it's alcohol. Obviously, we don't know 100%, but if that is the case, it may be a case of, like I said, the team just want to see where he's at, what he's doing, and make a decision from there. To keep him as the backup.
Yeah, I think like last year, when we were kind of coming out of the season, we were like, what we do to address the offensive line was the kind of big focus that we wanted to see what we were going to do. I think it's without a doubt it's going to be the quarterback room, even more so because last week Matthew Stafford was on, I think it was Pat McAfee's podcast, and he asked him about, are you going to hang it up at the end of the year then? And he said, no, I'm going to keep going. Now, of course, he's going to keep going, with what he's getting paid. But it's like, you've got Stanford there. You've got Bennett already on the books, as part of a 4-year deal. And then you're potentially going to be signing someone else. So it's one of those ones like, well, will they keep Bennett going if they're going to be bringing in another rookie? I suppose in terms of the cap, it doesn't. As long as he stays clean, I guess it's again, it's a minimal hit, isn't it? That you've got a guy in a rookie contract. We drafted him in the 4th round, so he's not in a massive contract as well. So I suppose it's one of those ones that do we hope that he kind of keeps it clean, because he in terms of viewing it as Bennett becomes the long-term backup to the guy we bring in next year.
Yeah, that could be an option. Obviously, that's even if we're all making an assumption that it is going to be a quarterback. This team might not even sign a quarterback. They may decide there's other issues elsewhere, and if Stafford didn't want to keep for another year, and we'll just, maybe they, but Bennett is getting, he's basically lost this season, so he's now going to be a 26-year-old rookie basically to start next year. It's kind of, how much longer is he going to have? He's not that much younger than Stafford, it feels at times at this point.
Yeah.
But like I say, we're just going to have to wait and see as to what the team decides to do with him, what they're going to do with Stafford, what Stafford's going to do. Stafford may very well say, I'm not retiring. And,
Even Kelly says.
Yeah, Mrs. S will get in his ear and be like, you're retiring, sunshine, because I've had enough. So we just don't know. He seems the sort of guy that he's likely to get, offered. It wouldn't surprise me if he's already had offers for going into the booth once his career's up. So he may decide, actually, I'll just do that. It's easier. It keeps the misses off my back. There's lots between now and then, He could now throw off and have an MVP style second half of the year, and we'll forget all the talk about him. I don't see it, but
I don't see it myself. No.
You never know. We'll just have to wait and see.
We'll just have to wait and see. I can't remember if this was, because it's in my notes here. I can't remember if this is from a couple of weeks ago. No, but in fact, no, I put this in for the last time we were going to podcast and we didn't. Kevin Dotson has came up a wee bit, and not necessarily in the news, but in PFF's mid-season All-Pro team, because they named him as their starting right guard in the offense, and they commented that they felt that he's quietly putting together his best season thus far, and commented that he is down as being the second best league in terms of run blocking. Kevin Dotson seems to have been a good acquisition to that offensive line, hasn't he, Andy?
He has, mate. Yeah, between him and obviously Steve Avila, I never understood, to be honest, when he was in Pittsburgh, why he wasn't getting games. He just seemed to fall out of favour for whatever reason. And to be honest, it's been to our benefit now, and I'm not sure if it's this year or next year he's due up for his contract. But I'm hoping whatever it is, we just sign the guy. Don't even think about it. He's our. We have between him and our Avia, we basically have our two guard positions secured away now potentially for the next good number of years, because he's only. Is he 26, 27 himself? So he's got a good few years left in him. So, yeah, no, I'd say I was coming and just, again, I think with offensive linemen, if they come in, you don't notice them. They're doing the job. It's when you start noticing them that you go, and yeah, it's normally because they get noticed for getting beaten. He's just come in and just got on with the job, basically. And one of our probably best acquisitions this year in terms of players we've brought in. I don't mean in the draft, obviously, but just players we've brought in and picked up.
It took a few weeks before we actually got to see him play, but that makes that kind of comments from PFA even more impressive, because I think it was maybe the third or the fourth week before he actually got to play for us. So it's not even out of the 9 weeks that we've played, he's played in just over half of the games. Really, when you think of it, so that's even more impressive.
Exactly.
And like I said, alongside Steve Avila, he's been a great acquisition on that offensive line. And it's really showed up. It's not solved all problems. I'll say that. I'll make that clear. But it's gone a long way to addressing a lot of the issues we had with the offensive line last year. And fingers crossed we can build on that. It's Dotson and Avia coming in has been a good foundation to try and rebuild that offensive line off of this year. I felt. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, same here. It's a good start, and even the fact that we've paid Brian Allen, but we've decided Shelton is the better guy to start on centre, and Jackson is our preferred starter at left tackle. We seem to have basically shored up the offensive line to a lot better than it was last year. And to be honest, I think, depending on where we're picking in the draft, if we can potentially pick up maybe one of the top tackles, in this year's draft, that's basically pretty much our offensive line sorted. I think it's sorted. It's about as good as we're going to get.
Yeah.
Bar for anything, major happening. I think out of the five on the offensive line, the one weakest player you can get away with is if he's your centre. If your centre's the weakest player, it's fine, because a lot of the schemes will help him out with either the running back coming into a system or double teaming with a guard, and then the guard will feed off onto his blocker. So you look at some of the top teams, the centres aren't great, but they can get away with it. If your tackles and your guards aren't great, then it all starts to fall apart a little bit more, because they're expected to one-on-one more often than not. So, if we can just get left tackle sorted, with maybe, like I say, a top guy out the draft, I think our offensive line is basically back to where it was, back in the, Big Wit, Saffold sort of days.
Yeah, just looking at the sacks allowed stat in terms of Stafford. So last year Stafford only played 9 games. He was sacked 29 times. This year so far he's played 8 games. He's been sacked 19 times. So that gives you an idea, folks, in terms of sacks allowed, the difference in the offensive line. It felt like a lot more than 29 sacks that Stafford took last year. But I mean, that's noticeable difference in terms of time that Stafford will be getting in the pocket, to actually watch plays develop. If the play doesn't develop or whatever, it's another issue. But at least you can say that the offensive line is doing more of a job to give our quarterback, our aging veteran quarterback, more time on the ball to try and do something with it. Time he didn't have last year.
It's not just that as well. It's helping our run game as well. It helps your run game because our own game has been a lot better because of those two, of Avia and Dotson coming in, which are bigger guys to push that and create that space for him to get through. Because if you look at a lot of the runs that we're doing, it is sort of guard tackle area. So we're sort of basically following up behind one of the two of them to get those yards. So it really does, like you say, it helps in a lot of aspects of the game. Other news, if you like, so to speak, it's just been announced today. Obviously, for anyone who plays Madden 24, Puka Nacua has now got superstar abilities. They've actually upgraded them to superstar. So if anyone plays that, then you now have Puka as a superstar.
Excellent. That's good to know. Wonder if that's happening with any other rookies. The rookie season have upgraded them like that.
I think the only other one I think I saw off the top of my head was CJ Stroud. Got a massive upgrade. Got a superstar.
Well, I suppose you can see that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that it's nice bit of recognition there. I think what that really tells you is that in terms of the scouting they would have done to give these guys their stats for the game, it just shows you that the scouts got it wrong.
I think at the start when the game came out, I can't remember if he was a 67 or a 69 as his starting rating as a normal, and I think he's now like 78, 79 superstar. So, he's definitely getting the recognition Puka deserves, and hopefully if we can get him up to 1,000 yards this year, and he can make it'd be nice to get the guy, to where he needs to be.
That's that. Even in the last couple of games, you're not, putting up like amazing stats like he did at the start of the year. He's still breaking the records, in terms of the Rams, which is just nuts. The last two games, he only 32 yards against the Packers off the 3 catches, 43 against the Cowboys, again 3. But like 89 games to still break like records for like the amount of receptions, the amount of targets, the amount of yards for a rookie, it's just it's nuts, man. I mean, he's on 827 yards now off his 64 catches. Like you said, Andy, you'd like to think he's definitely going to cross the 1,000 threshold there. I mean, I can't see. Common sense says you can't see him not reaching 1,000 yards, but this is us we're talking about.
Yeah, this is us, mate.
This is what we're talking about. But I mean, really, I'm yelling, 170 yards over 8 games. On paper, he could get that in one game. But you know what I mean. On paper, he should really get that and hit that 1,000 marker, which is is great. It would be great for a rookie. Would like to see him catch more in the end zone. I'd like to see him get some more touchdowns, because I think that's the other thing. Like, for a lot of the catches we've seen him made in games, you want to see him make these day catches in the end zone. Put it that way.
Yeah, in fact, Madden have literally just released a tweet as we're talking. Yeah, he's gone plus 13 upgrade to superstar. So he started as a 67 and he's now an 80 superstar. So, nice to see he's getting the recognition he deserves.
Yep. Just having a look into it myself. I'm just posting there, but Stafford's a full participant in practice today.
Yeah, that's good.
So
good.
It's definitely looking like he's heading towards starting at the weekend. Yeah. Hopefully we can see, the old Cooper Cup back this week. With how we performed against, and we'll now come on to our preview of the game this Sunday, 9:25 p.m. It's not on Sky Sports or anything. As we welcome, yes, as we welcome the Seahawks to town, and we are 3-2 in our last 5 against them. The last said about the last loss, the Bear. But yeah, so with how the first game of the season went, where we absolutely steamrolled them, and totally blew people away in terms of, Christ, the Rams actually could still play that, considering how bad the team looks on paper. They're 6-3, you know. But one of those threes is us. How you feel going into this one, Andy?
Yeah, personally, I think I've got this down myself. I think we're going to lose this game. I just feel Seahawks are getting hot at just the right time.
Yeah.
But again, much like I've said with like Washington and that, it's going to depend which Geno Smith the team puts out. If you get the Geno Smith on his good day, he's again going to carve our secondary to pieces. DK Metcalf, unfortunately, will have a field day. If we get the Geno Smith that we got from the first game, then we could win this game. It's very much up in the air, as to what this game is. It would be nice to have. I don't think Karen Williams is going to be. I think he's got another few weeks before he's back. But it would have been nice to have somebody like him back this week to, help pound the rock and control the clock a little bit just to make sure. But again, it's just one of them games. I think we're just going to have to watch, see, and keep our fingers crossed that we can. Much like in the first game, our defense can frustrate the Seahawks offensive line and the quarterback, and our offense can just get the ball moving enough to win. And if there's no reason why we can't. It's just a case of we'll just have to wait and see.
I think I had this down as a loss for us, but that was obviously part of the season. Like you said, I suppose it depends on what kind of which version of Geno Smith turns up. We're at home, so I mean, I would like to say that would go in our favour, but it doesn't really matter. Although on the topic of home, it was nice to see that the Tenants could barely fill the stadium, and it was basically a home game for the Lions.
Yeah.
Nice to see. But back to our game. I've enjoyed such a positive week. If it's not playing, maybe we'll enjoy football. And it's just back to the grind, I guess. Hopefully, with Stafford's had a few weeks rest now. He's looking good in terms of being back to full practice participation. Our offensive line, like you were saying, Andy, they're doing well, kind of showing up. Holes that and give Stafford time, on the ball and whatnot. Like I said, it's just I'm hoping to see, 2021 Cooper Cup come out of nowhere this week because really need them, to be honest, to start with.
To be honest, I'm not bothered if we get 2021 Cooper Cup as long as we get week 1 Puka Nakua. I'll be happy with that.
Oh, true. Very true, actually, yeah. Take one of them, I guess. Be nice for both of them, but yeah, I suppose take both of them. Actually, on the topic of Puka Nakua here, just as I'm scrolling through Twitter, I was just sitting and watching a video. It's some highlights from Puka Nakua, and the highlights are actually very interesting because I didn't realise, even though there was a difference in the uniform, I didn't realise I was looking at a different player because some of the catches that Nakua is making are very much reminiscent of one Robert Woods. And it's like I said, it's just as we were talking there, I'm watching it and I just love, even though it's going back to the old throwbacks, and it's like the colour rush uniforms. Watching some of the catches that Woods is making in this, it's at Ram Tapes. They posted about an hour ago, and it's like it's looking at the same player, and some of the catches that Nakua's made compared to seeing then Woods make pretty much the exact same catches. Losing Bobby Trees, season before last was a bit of a blow because he was like so well loved by our fan base. Let's just put it out there. Do you think Nakua is potentially that replacement for Bobby Trees?
Yeah, I do, and eventually he's also going to be our cup replacement, I feel, as well. If he keeps developing the way he's going, I think he could be our cup, replacement. I loved, like everybody else, I loved Bobby Trees, but I do feel the team got rid of him at the right time because he was on the decline and he couldn't stay healthy. And I think the team did make the right long-term choice to part ways when they did. as horrible as it sounds, it's a business at the end of the day, and it was the right, that was the right choice. As much as we've knocked the team for, the Jalen Ramsey trades, etc., Bobby Woods was the correct trade to make because he was, starting to slow down and struggle. And I think we've seen that now over the since he's gone. He's not really been able to stick with teams and not put the production up. But yeah, I do think Puka is potentially, and his replacement already. Like I say, potentially if he keeps developing the way he is, he could be our Cup replacement in a few years when Cup decides to either hang up the cleats or he gets too expensive for the team to keep.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you there. Just as I was kind of scrolling through tweets, just to kind of try and kind of check see if there's any news and anything about practice or anything like McVay said or whatnot. I came across an interesting quote, and I suppose it's kind of relevant to you're talking back to the season when we let Bobby Trees go. It's about one Von Miller. Did you see his comment about Josh Allen?
No.
I wouldn't trade Josh for anybody else in this league, past or future or whatever. Any of the greats that have ever played the game, I wouldn't trade Josh for any of those guys.
Okay.
Peyton Manning, Matthew Stafford, two quarterbacks that Von Miller has a ring thanks to.
Yep.
But he would trade either of them for Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Josh Allen's a good quarterback, but
he's not at the moment. He's a bit of a turnover machine.
No. Yeah, it's the Madden course, in it. But I just, as I said, came across that, and it's an interesting quote. Like, really, you could have any quarterback, past, future, or whatever, as he said, but you'd take Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think he's only doing that. He's trying to shore up the locker room, I think, because apparently their locker room's starting to fall apart.
Yeah, that's what it is, because I'm sorry, like, taking the horns off aside, if I could play under Peyton Manning as my quarterback, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But like the tweets there, and there's a picture of Peyton Manning, and you got a very smug looking Matthew Stafford, and it's like, you don't have to say anything. Like, you've got a ring against with these guys, but yeah, okay, go with Josh Allen. Yeah, how many rings has he got?
I was this rated. Your team not even meant the playoffs this year because you're so bad.
But like you said, it's obviously an attempt to try and shore up the locker room, I guess.
Yeah. There's a few teams now that have got locker room issues starting to develop, isn't there?
Yeah. We went off on a tangent there. Right, just going back, Andy. Right, prediction for Sunday: win or loss?
I'm going to be positive and go with a win. I think we'll scrape a win.
Yeah. I'll say this. I'll say the same. It's hard. It's hard to predict how our games are going to go.
I'm predicting Aaron Donald's going to have Geno Smith screaming, "Oh my God!" all over again, running around the field, and Stafford will do enough to get us over the line. That's it. Trying to finish on a positive note. So I'm going to finish with we're going to win this.
Well, here's another positive note they'll put on. Through 9 games, offensive linemen Rob Havenstein and Alaric Jackson between them have only allowed 3 sacks this season. And that's on between the two of them. They've had maybe about, we'll just say on average, about 455 snaps. So, Stafford's going to be allowed to bowl this week. And he is going to bowl because he's had 2 weeks off. His form, he's hit his back. He's healthy. He's looking good. Yeah, and we're just going to go out and annihilate this mob and get back to winning ways. And I didn't necessarily have winning ways this week. How you getting on in the fantasy football, Andy, or do you want to talk about it? Because I don't really want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. Yeah.
I think the LA Rams UK team are cursed. I think we're just meant to be absolutely god awful at fantasy football this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. I just have the injury curse, mate. Every single player I pick gets injured a week or 2 later, and the ones I pick up afterwards get injured as well. It's kind of like, what is the point now?
I didn't play with a kicker or a defense this week because they were both on bye, and I thought I'm not dropping the Eagles or dropping anyone else because I need the points so that I can bring another defense in for just 1 week. So I took the hit. I think going in to this week, I had a 1% chance of winning. I managed to get up to 43% chance of winning late on Sunday evening, and I was just like on the edge of my seat. There is a chance here, and no, I got beat. I'm not doing too good at all in fantasy. My season is now going to absolute shit, for lack of a better word. To be honest, I'm not doing too good. I'm the what am I? I'm not necessarily the worst. Like I'm 4-6, which doesn't sound too bad, but I'm the lowest scoring team in the league by about 200 points. So that's nearly 2 weeks worth of an okay performance in fantasy football. So I'm not doing too good. I am warming the bottom of my division. As are Aaron and Chris in the other division, and I believe you yourself. And that's why I say, folks, that maybe the LA Rams UK team, we're definitely not people to take fantasy advice off of this year. But with that, I mean, let's not talk about ourselves here. Nick 1001 is sitting 8-2. He's doing really well. OBJ is missing ACL. He's definitely finding the wins. He's not missing any W's. He's 7-3. Over the McVay conference, Stormbusters 6-4, leading his division, and DJ Wright 2000 is 8-2 with West Ham United FC Matt right up his back at 7-3. So there's a few guys starting to kind of not necessarily run away with leagues, but guys start break away in terms of how we can see how the playoffs are going to start looking, and we're only a few weeks away from playoff season. Don't think we're going to be in the playoffs, are we, Andy?
No, we've got no chance of making the playoffs, mate.
No chance. We're all going to be fighting amongst ourselves to tank.
Yeah, thank you for the one pick next year.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that, folks. But good luck to all the other guys in the fantasy football league, and all guys that are chasing the inaugural Sleep Deprivation Bowl championship. But apart from that, anything else you'd like to add tonight, Andy?
No, mate. I think that's about it for myself. What about you?
Just see how this week goes, I guess. Like I said, I enjoyed such a nice weekend last week. Sitting there, red zone on, just watching the games. Just getting to be a neutral and not get frustrated. It was a nice feeling again. It takes me back to the 2021 season, when we were good.
I just enjoyed a Sunday of just flicking through games on one screen and playing Football Manager, the new Footy Manager on the other screen of a laptop, on the PC, I mean. So, that was my Sunday.
I suppose, at least we're on Sky this week, like you said. I seen Mr. Reynolds he's still pushing for his US trip. I believe it's December. He's trekking through the States and inviting people to come join. I think he's actually dropped the price. So he's definitely not getting as many takers as he thought he was going to get. So.
No, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised anybody's taking it.
The other thing is, I don't think you find this funny. My wife is, it'll come as no surprise why when I explain it. My wife has started to now develop a little bit more interest in American football, but it's not. Well, it's for the reasons you probably think it is. It's not actually football reasons. I am now in a split household because my wife is now saying that she's a Chiefs fan, and I'm like, thank you very much, Mrs. Swift.
Right, yeah.
So, all I'm getting in house now is about how can you not have a guy like Travis Kelce in your team?
Because Travis Kelce is like 1 in a million.
I'm like, I can't really explain this to you, right? I can explain it so many levels, right? About
we didn't draft him.
Yes, we didn't get to pick him. We weren't that awful that year that we could draft him. and we can't afford him now. So there's that. I don't know, but like, how could you not just get him? It's like something like that. I've had to explain to her that my wife is very clued up on like normal football, right? So I've had to take American football like rules and how things works and soccerize them, as I'll say for any American listeners. I'll make it more sound better than footballize them because that will make no sense. So try to explain that because like when I told her the Packers score, she's like, why are you so bad this year? I mean, the Chiefs are doing not bad. And I'm like, what's the Chiefs coach name? And she told me Andy Reid. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, how did you know that? Because Travis mentioned Coach Reid. So I'm like,
oh God. Do you know what? I'm kind of glad that my family just have no interest at all. I'm happy to keep it that way. So
yeah, that's that. So I'm in a split house. She says I'm not in because I said to her, all right, so because she sees clips in the New Heights podcast, which is the Kelsey brothers, and she talks about Jason as well. She says, oh, the two are really funny together, and she's like, oh, the Chiefs and Eagles are playing this weekend, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, are you going to watch it? And she's like, no, why would I watch? And I'm like, you started talking about American football to me. Then you're telling me, oh, how come you are so bad? Like you won it 2 years ago. How can you go for like the best to one of the worst?
Because that's like, what the NFL is. Unless you're lucky and you're the Patriots, then every NFL team has a 5-6 year cycle traditionally, and then that's it. That's the whole point of the draft and the rebuild.
I explained that to her. I explained to her about basically us mortgaging off like future draft picks and like paying like people absolutely ridiculous amounts of money. And she was just like, but why would you do that? Says, because we wanted to win. Says, yeah, but look at what it got us now. Says, I know, but we've got this big fancy ring, on our fingers now. We've got a trophy, in a banner, that will always be there. It was worth it. Says, and I said to her, but the thing is, says, yeah, we're bad now. And I said to her, like, imagine like a football team. We've got absolutely zero transfer kitty. If anything, we've had to lose players because we can't afford to keep them because we've had to cut back in the wage bill. It says, but next year, I just said, like, the best way to describe it is just imagine like the Saudis that came in, bought the club. There you go, there's X amount of money. You can go buy whoever you want. That's what the Rams are going to be like next year. We can go out and buy, not necessarily anyone we want, but we can go and buy good players and bring in. Because I tried to explain it in football terms, like I'd soccerize it, so that she would understand how the cycle works. Because she didn't understand like why do the contracts like fluctuate and go up and down. I says because that's what you do to kind of stay under the cap. And she was like, but why not just balance it, just pay them the same all the time? I said, but it's basically just wheeling and dealing to get the best players in on as little money as possible to make yourself as competitive as you can to try and win it all. And she was just like, it just makes no sense why you would do that. Like, and I'm like, that's football, that's the NFL, that's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I think this is why I prefer normal football. It's more simple structures. You pay a guy X, that's what he gets paid, that's it. Yeah, but it's a bit, I mean, all American sports are the same. It's about trying to create level playing fields. You've not always got the same worst teams, but it's like yourself under the NFL that a lot of teams kind of stay the lower end of the bracket. I suppose it comes down to the back office, I guess. But yeah, so that's what I'm dealing with now. I'm now dealing with a split household with a wife who talks about NFL but doesn't actually want to watch it now.
Nah, right. No, that's fine, mate. I'm glad that my family aren't interested and they can stay uninterested.
I'm just worried that like my sons are going to listen to her and want to become Chiefs fans, and I'm going to be sitting here, as the only Rams fan.
Nah. She'll get bored once they break up, mate.
Oh no! Listen,
she'll get.
Don't say that to her. No, this is it. This is it. Because she was displaying Chiefs colours at our concert the weekend. My wife's like, no, this is the one. This is it. They ain't breaking up. And I'm like, okay.
No, she'll break up with him shortly. She'll make a breakup song about how bad he is, sell it, and then that the standard Taylor Swift thing, mate.
We'll see. But yeah, enough of that, right? Because we're going on a tangent there. So, folks, that was us. We'll see you all next week for episode 104, where hopefully we will be returning to winning ways with a divisional win in a clean sweep this year against the Seahawks. But for now, I've been John and you've been Andy. Always a pleasure to talk to you, mate.
Yep, always a pleasure, mate. And yep, let's look forward to a win at the weekend and positivity for next week.
And on that note, folks, good night. See you next week.